Good day, everyone. You're welcome to this week's Business and Investment Tips program, a production of RCCG Christ Church Radio with Ayodeji Ebo, an investment professional. This week, the focus is on Nigeria's Q3 2022 GDP numbers. Last week, the National Bureau of Statistics (NBS) published the Nigeria's third quarter gross domestic product (GDP) numbers. The Nigerian economy grew for the seventh consecutive quarter as real GDP rose by 2.25% year-on-year, that is Q3 2022 versus Q3 2021, but lower than the growth of 4.03% year-on-year recorded in Q2 2022. The slower growth rate can be attributed to the unrelenting depreciation and volatility of the naira, the high base effect from previous year, the monetary policy tightening, and the continued low oil production. GDP tracks how an economy performs and measures the value of all final goods and services produced in an economy in a given period. This is usually a quarter or a year. Real GDP reflects the actual value of goods and services produced without the influence of price movements. Simply put, the GDP of a sector can be affected by both the volume of goods and services produced and the respective prices. Nevertheless, what's important is the increase in goods and services produced rather than the price increases. Nigeria's GDP report captures 19 sectors, but only 5 sectors account for 73.6% of the total activities in the economy. These are agriculture 29.2%, ICT 15.1%, trade, wholesale and retail 15.1%, manufacturing 8.4%, and mining and quarrying 5.8%. The non-oil sector, which accounts for 94.3% of Nigeria's GDP in Q3 2022, has been the major driver of growth since the country exited its recession in Q4 2020. The non-oil sector grew by 4.3% year-on-year in Q3 2022, down from 4.8% year-on-year growth in Q2 2022. On the other hand, output in the oil sector continued to be depressed due to theft and maintenance challenges. The oil sector has contracted for 10 consecutive quarters, with a reduction in output by 22.7% year-on-year in Q3 2022, significantly worse than the decline of 11.8% in the previous quarter. Based on the contribution of sectors to GDP, the services sector 52% in Q3 2022 versus 57.4% in Q2 2022 lost ground to agriculture, 29.7% in Q3 2022 versus 23.4% in Q2 2022, and industry 18.4% in Q3 2022 versus 19.4% in Q2 2022. Also, the growth rate in the agricultural sector improved by 1.3% from 1.2% in Q2 2022, and the services sector expanded by 7.01% in Q3 2022 from 6.7% in Q2 2022. Conversely, industry contracted for the 6th straight quarter, given the negative growth of 8% in Q3 2022 from the contraction of 2.3% in Q2 2022. Here are our takeaways. 1. Remarkably, 15 out of the 19 sectors expanded in Q3 2022, save for mining and quarrying, manufacturing, other services as well as electricity, gas, steam, and air conditioning sectors, which all suffered negative growths of 21.3%, 1.9%, 2.7%, and 3.6% year-on-year respectively. 2. The manufacturing sector recorded its first contraction since Q4 2020 on the back of rising production costs due to naira depreciation and higher energy costs. This led to higher prices, which reduced consumer demand due to weak spending power. 3. The continued poor growth in the crude, petroleum, and natural gas sector can be attributed to low crude oil production due to theft, prolonged operational and maintenance issues, as well as divestments of international oil companies, IOCs. Nigeria's crude oil production decreased to an average of 1.2 million barrels per day in Q3 2022 from 1.4 million barrels per day in Q2 2022, significantly lower than the OPEC quota of 1.8 million barrels per day and the 1.6 million barrels per day estimated in the 2022 budget. This suggests that the country did not benefit from higher crude oil prices within the period, while paying huge subsidy bills that affected the NNPC's transfers to the government. 4. The ICT sector continued to grow stronger, expanding 10.5% year-on-year in Q3 2022 from 6.6% year-on-year in Q2 2022 on the back of network expansion in the sector, increased subscriber base, and improved activities in the payment service bank by the two giant telcos, MTN Nigeria and Airtel Africa. 5. The real estate sector sustained its positive form for the fifth consecutive quarter, growing 2.2% year-on-year in Q3 2022 amid rising costs of building materials due to naira depreciation. 6. The trade sector sustained its positive performance for the sixth consecutive quarter with a growth rate of 5.1% year-on-year in Q3 2022 amid FX illiquidity and volatility. We expect Nigeria's GDP to sustain its positive growth path in Q4 2022, projected to grow at sub 3% in spite of the myriad of macroeconomic issues. A major disruption for the government and concern for the private sector is the preparation for the upcoming election. While we expect more government spendings, though majorly funded by borrowings, private investors, domestic and foreign, will be wary of making any major investments in the country until 2022, when there will be more clarity about our political terrain. Thank you for listening. Please join us same time next week for another insightful and interesting session. For questions, comments, and feedback, kindly forward to ebo.ayodeji@gmail.com or send an SMS to 07082 463747. Stay blessed.